Hey there, I am Andrew Smith, and I am a dude that did computer game and simulation programming last year, in 2024 through 2025 for FBLA. And I learned a lot while doing it. I actually went to nationals, and I want to pass down some advice to everybody else in the future, or the people doing it this year, 2025 through 2026. All right. So this is just to prove that I'm not an idiot. I've been making games for around a year and a half at this point. Actually, a little bit over that. And I'm working on my first ever commercial game as well, which is kind of rare for people in this competition. And you'll see why later. I'm a programmer, pixel artist, as well as a game designer. I went to nationals, like I said earlier. I saw most of the presentations at the finals, so I have a good idea for what the caliber of the actual presentations in most of the games are. And I also put roughly 300 hours into the event last year, so I was pretty dedicated, to say the least. Also, I would like to say I am not technically a professional video game developer because that kind of suggests that you've made money off of doing it and you can really count it as your job. And I want that to be the case for me eventually, and I'm working on that since I'm releasing a game on Steam. Sooner or later, that might be true, maybe even during this year, but just putting that out there. I am probably going to be competing again this year as well, and the reason I'm giving all this advice is because I want you to be able to figure things out a little bit easier than I had to. Because there's not really any resources online for this event. That's different for some of the other ones. And as someone that had to go through all of it without any help, it was pretty rough. So, I want to help you. More people should make games for this event that are great. I really think this, because some people make this event just about winning, and they don't actually make much of anything that's worth their while, and I don't like seeing that. That is a shame. Also, I do not care about getting first place this year, just growing as a game dev, and the way I'm doing that is by helping you guys. I really don't gain that much from getting a high placing at finals, or sorry, nationals, but I do get a lot by helping other people because then it just farther cements my knowledge. And plus, I just kind of, like helping people. And if you do get better than me and you beat me this year, then that's awesome because, like, if you beat me, then that means I did a good job of helping you out. I hope. So, first off, the most important stuff. You really don't need any prior experience in making video games to do well. I mean, if you have that, that's nice, but you really don't. You just need to be able to make a game and have the confidence to present stuff about it. And that's the second thing. This is very much so a presentation-based event. In a different event, digital video production, you're going to be judged off of your presentation, but also your video that you made. And that's going to be judged separately by some judges from your actual presentation. That is not the case for computer game and simulation programming. I am wanting to push for that in the future because I don't like that some people are able to just kind of make things that look okay to the judges but don't actually play very well. I want people to actually be making games for the game event and put more of an emphasis on that. But right now, this year, that's not really the case. I really recommend doing this event with other people. I was not able to, and this year I still am not really able to. That's just because no one in my school district is really that into it as I am. And for this event, you need people that are kind of equally yoked with you. So if you're putting in all of the work and your other teammates are not, that's going to cause a problem later on. And since I can do everything on my own, I do. But if you're starting out, then get with some other people, one or two other dudes. That's going to help most people a ton. And I gotta say, most of it is the presentation. Very little of it is the game. I really don't like that. I will show you why that is the case as well. The rubric is what decides how well you do. If you do not follow the rubric, then you will not do well. You will probably not even make it out of state and into nationals. And I also want to say, how much you enjoy this event and how much you grow from it is going to depend on what you want out of it. If you want to just win this, then that's going to take you down one road. And if you want to get better at making video games, that's going to take you down a very different road. And I can help you out with both. But no matter what road you're going on, I think you should start building your game now, as long as like it's not summertime and literally you can't because the topic's not there yet. But I'm guessing most of the people are going to be watching this because they're like, okay, I need to do this now, and they want some advice. So that's neither here nor there. I actually applied for some changes to the rubric, and I'm very happy about those. Basically, last time you had to have multiplayer in your game to get the maximum amount of points for the exceeds expectations category. I really didn't like that, and I think it's kind of a bad idea because it puts too much of an emphasis on something that might not actually even make your game better. I also got rid of some things that were really vague. In the exceeds expectations category, the advanced rules and advanced features, that's just kind of vague. If I say I'm an advanced game developer, what's that even mean? How do you judge if someone is advanced? And I was talking with the other contestants as well as the judges, and they agreed that these were things that didn't really make sense to have in your rubric. So yeah, we changed that. If this is your first year, I guess that doesn't really matter that much to you, as long as you read all the rubric. But if this is your second year, like I am, then you should know that. Now, the topic this year overall is this thing called Career Quest. And it's basically to make a game where different careers are shown off and you have some kind of gameplay with it. And you have to make sure that the players experience a short scenario that captures what the job is like. You don't need to be too realistic about this, I'm sure. You don't literally need to simulate what a 9 to 5 is at an office. You just need to give an idea of a thing they do. I don't think that anybody would enjoy a simulation of what an actual 9 to 5 is as this. Anyway, complete skill-based challenges and tasks unique to that profession. So, like, let's say you had a basketball player. Well, what does a basketball player do that, like, someone else would not do? They play basketball. That's right. So basically, you would want a small game where a dude plays basketball. Or if it's soccer, they play soccer. Or if they're an accountant, maybe have them enter some stuff in a spreadsheet. I don't know. You could probably make it out of any different career. Maybe most careers, some of them would be pretty hard to adapt to this, but I'm sure you'll figure that out. I'd also like to point out that you have to make it the Windows 10, macOS, modern web browser, or mobile. If I were you, I would highly recommend a modern web browser over the others. I get macOS if like you have a Mac computer or Windows, but the thing is, Windows 10, I actually think that like you cannot really use that as much anymore. I'm wondering if they just forgot to update it to Windows 11. But if they didn't, then yeah, that's kind of a problem. I'm pretty sure it just means like having it as an exe file. Mobile platform, if you want to do that, yeah, go ahead. But it's going to be challenging to do it unless you have Godot or something that is specifically good at making the mobile. If I were you, I would probably focus more so on these three, and specifically this one, than hitting all four. You really don't need to bother with that. Now, it needs to be secure. Please don't put a virus in your game and then have people download it. That one's not hard at all. I mean, I would think it's just a given, but I guess there's got to be some guy that had a virus in his game, and then yeah, it was bad. And then game-breaking bugs. Let's say that you had a Tetris-like. A game-breaking bug would make it so that you could not play it. So like, whenever you hit start, if you hit an arrow key, it just crashes the entire game. That's how bad it would probably have to be. And this is just a little spiel. I mean, I don't know exactly what you'd have to do. It's going to depend. But as far as I saw last year, it was a very liberal interpretation of the prompt. Some people, for context, last year, it was this ethical challenges topic. And there's this one dude who made it into the top 10, and his game had literally nothing to do with ethics. It was just like this top-down hack and slash, and he said, oh, you have to make the ethical choice to kill this bat or not, which was trying to attack you. It really didn't have anything to do with that. Thankfully, most of the games weren't that bad. They all more or less had ethics in them. Some of them really did, and I really liked them, but that one guy, I was like, man, how'd I lose to that? He didn't really play the game at all. Anyway, now to make your game, I would really recommend that you focus on the topic from the very beginning. Don't like try and make a Mario game and then add in the career stuff later. Think, okay, how about I make a platformer where there are individual levels where you are doing a different thing. Like maybe there could be an office platformer and then a plumber platform. Oh, well, that's just Mario. And then maybe a basketball platformer. I don't know. You go crazy with that. You need to know, by the way, that starting out, it is very unlikely that you are a Giga Chad game developer. I mean, I know I definitely am not, unless you're someone like Polymars and you've literally been doing it for all of your life. You probably are not going to be able to get Breath of the Wild into this. You need to have a small scope for what the game is going to be like, because, well, if you don't, your game's just going to be bad, most likely. And you have a limited amount of time to create this game. At best, let's say hypothetically it's 2026 and you just got the topic. I think at most you have like 8 months before state, probably to get something prepared, and then from there like 10 more months till nationals or something like that. But it's still not that much time. And like I said, unless you're already really good at game development, I would focus on making something pretty small. Instead of making, like I said, Breath of the Wild, try making something like Pac-Man, something small and reasonable. If you want to make Breath of the Wild, make sure you've already got Pac-Man, something small, and then build on it if you'd like. But like I said earlier, that's not going to matter as much as having a good presentation. So yeah, I think that I started making this presentation a while ago. At this point, no, you don't have half a year to prepare for state. It's probably quite a bit less than that by the time you're seeing it. So just ignore that. Take whenever your state conference is and create a countdown timer till that, so you can get that procrastination out of you and realize, oh hey, I don't have that much time. But yeah, top 4 at state, just like every other event, are going to move on to nationals. There's a lot of people, and I know this because there was a little bit under 100 teams at nationals. There's going to be a lot of people that just move on to nationals by default, because this is it's technically an easy event in the sense that, like, if you're in, say, Idaho or Wyoming, there's probably not quite as much competition. So you might be able to just get a free pass to go to nationals, but at nationals things do get quite a bit more fierce. And at nationals, that's really the time of judgment. So with all that said, please don't try and make a game that is too big for someone that has just gotten started with game development. Now, for what kind of game you make, it could be almost any genre of game. I think you could probably make this into a visual novel if you really wanted to. I don't know why you would want to, but go crazy if that's your thing. I would say the only things you really can't create, aside from things that are obviously not school appropriate, would generally be horror and violent games. Like, probably don't make Mortal Kombat, and probably don't make Five Nights at Freddy's type games for this. I mean, unless you really want to and you want to roll the dice and say, oh, well, it's not that bad, I'm sure they'll let me go past it. But the thing is, I would probably keep a PG rating on it. Five Nights at Freddy's movie was PG-13, I think, so yeah, there's that. But yeah, as long as you can prove it fits the theme, you're probably going to be good. Like I said, it's a pretty liberal interpretation from the judges most of the time. I wouldn't make something that has nothing to do with the theme at all. You definitely do need to have a good idea of how it does go with the theme. Like, if you were wanting to make a, I don't know, visual novel, you need to make sure that visual novel has you going to different jobs. Or if you wanted to make a fighting game, you need to have the different characters be having different jobs, and then they fight each other with, like, if they were a cook, you would give them a skillet, and if they were a golfer, they have a golf club or something like that. You could probably do something like that. Just giving you ideas. Go crazy. And like some genres, like a 3D game, could work, but if you don't already know Blender or Maya or something like that, which will let you make 3D models, I really don't recommend doing something like that. If this is your first time ever making a game, here is what I would recommend. Hold on. Godot. I'm skipping a little bit, but please look up any of these tutorials with Godot. It is very good. That is where you need to be starting. You will only get to show off your game for about 3 minutes. Unless you go with something that is very, very good for just like... Okay, let's say hypothetically that you made your slideshow have a video and you went alongside the video as you were presenting. I did see a team do that at Nationals. There were 3 of them, and they did it extremely well. If you can execute that, then that's great. If you're only one dude like me, you're probably going to have a harder time. What I tried to do was I made this presentation kind of similar to this one, actually, and I will link it in the description. So if you want to use it to get an idea for what you might want to do. Basically, I gave the slideshow first. I said, hi, my name's Andrew Smith, and my game's to agree or disagree. And we're going to see if you agree or disagree that this game's great. And then, boom, you go through, and for me, it took about 4 minutes, and then I used the rest of the 3 minutes to show off the game itself. But you need to make sure that you can show off the core features, the topic, within the 3 minutes. So you shouldn't have a super long boot up sequence or something like that that keeps you out of the game. That will hurt you a ton. And also, you only have a little bit of time to show off what your game is really like, so you gotta make it count. Okay, skill gaps. Like I said, this is for people that have just gotten started. If you don't know how to program, like I said, get Godot, because they have one of the easiest programming languages to learn. It is similar to Python in that it is very readable for humans. It's a lot like English. It's very literal. Print? I wonder what that does. It prints something to the console. It's pretty easy to learn GDScript and Python. If you know Python already, learn GDScript. Or make something in Pygame, which is something that goes alongside Python. But Godot, it's great, and I can tell you even more about it later. Programming, though, if you don't want to learn how to do that at all, you can use Scratch probably, because Scratch lets you just use block coding, and that's definitely on the table. I did see someone do that, but you might want to be able to not make it seem overly childish. If you only have a school computer, that can definitely complicate things. If you don't have access to a laptop or a personal computer, then Scratch might seem a little bit more practical. But even then, Godot actually has a web version, so you can still apply most of the stuff to the web version. It's not ideal what a lot of schools do with their Chromebooks, where they kind of block off certain things when they really should not. And if I were you, try and get Godot working on a Chromebook, because it's very practical to do that. For music, I only know a couple of people my age that can actually compose music. For a while, it was not something I could do at all, but now I'm learning. But up until then, I had to use this thing called Incompetech, which is completely free, by the way. You just go to their website, Incompetech, I want to say .com. And then you can go and download any music that you'd like, and as long as you give them credit, you're good to go. And that's all you got to do. Just show that you credited them in the presentation, and everything's chill. Or if you don't want to credit them, you can do something through this thing called Ovani Music, and they actually offer these really, really good music packs. And I mean, that's really going an extra mile for a competition like this. I would probably just recommend using royalty-free music with Incompetech. that's going to take you all the way there, I would think. Just credit them and move on. Now for sound effects, you can use Pixabay, which just has a lot of free sound effects you can download and use as much as you would like. And it's pretty simple to explain. Most of the time, the visual art in these games is not going to be good. I have seen only a handful of very nice looking, very well polished games that actually are in the finals. I believe there was this one person in 2017 that made this game called Arcadian Dreams. And that game, that actually looks very nice. I also saw a Reddit post one time of a person that made, I'll probably have it up on the screen since I can edit this video later, but they had their game and it looked very nice. I would say the game I made looks okay. It's fine. And I also found some other people that did actually make it into finals that had a very nice looking game, and it had to do with the climate, and I'm also showing it here. You should check their game out. Maybe they're seeing this. Thank you for being cool. But for visual art, if you don't know what you're doing, that might be fine. You might be able to just take public domain assets, put them in your game, and have them do speech bubbles. Just make it look acceptable. Don't make it too amateurish. If it looks super ugly and painfully bad, then that's way worse than just mediocre most of the time. Okay, a little bit more about Godot. Very beginner friendly. Right now, Godot basically has one of the greatest tutorial series that I know of for a game engine. You could also do Unity or Unreal, but that's neither here nor there. I can help you out with Godot. If you say, Andrew, hey, I'm making this project and I would like a hand in it. I don't know how to implement this thing. I could probably help you with that. If you use Unity, I will have no idea, and there's nothing I can probably do to help you. But with Godot, maybe I could give you a hand. Just comment and say, hey, I am blah 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 username on itch.io. Can you help me with this game? I might help you. But right now there are 4, I only have 2 here, tutorials from this YouTube channel called Brackies. And these 2 right here are probably all you're going to need. They also have one for 3D games and one for lighting. You probably don't need those very much. These 2 are going to take you pretty much all the way to making whatever game you want. And yeah, I recommend them. It's probably not going to take you, let's see, it'll take you probably 3 hours to get all the way through these, because you need to be stopping at certain points to implement features on your own, because it's not just going to keep going and going. It's very well structured so that you'll actually understand what you're doing instead of just copy and pasting whatever the guy in the tutorial is doing. So yeah, check these out, or do Unity or Unreal, or do your own thing. If you know what you're doing, then do that, but if not, please do this. Okay, now I'd like to show you guys a few more things. The game I made last year is pretty good, in my opinion, relatively speaking, for a guy that just got started. I have it up here on Shoutout, and you can download it as an exe file, or you can play it in the web. And here it is. We're going to go play to agree or disagree. This is the quality of game that I made. Maybe you won't need it to be like this. Maybe you will. I don't know. Make it as good or as bad as you think makes sense. That's my credits. You can pause the video if you're interested. I probably didn't need this quit button because this is a web game. But if we play, I have a bunch of different challenges. And this was basically a survey, but also a game. And I tried to make it feel really fun, just click things. But it's kind of a dynamic game. It will react to what you're doing. So let's say I'm not really paying any attention, and uh-oh. Yeah, I'm a bad person. So anyway, so it took me a second to find it, but here's my presentation from last year. It's kind of similarly formatted to the presentation I just gave to you. And to agree or disagree, that's the name of the game. Game that asks you really hard questions. And I had 4 slides from there: concept and design, rules and challenge, implementation, and then implementation development, because those are the 4 categories of the rubric that I needed to cover. The rubric is split off so that you have an area for the concept and design, an area for the implementation, and then you can see here graphics and game assets are appropriate for concept and or topic, and then more stuff here. Basically, these 6 rows, those all are things you can just directly show, or actually 7 rows are all things you can directly show in your game. But these 5 things are things you would probably want to show in the slideshow, and then later on some of them in the game itself. These 3 are interesting, and I really like them because if you're good at presenting, then you can get a lot of points here. I've seen that a lot of people do not get points here. So what you should do is you should practice your presentation like a ton. Become so confident in it that you could present with your eyes closed. And then you could actually just, not have a script and just go up there and present your project. That makes you seem very knowledgeable and very cool, and might I say, very organized and very skillful and very good at enhancing the overall presentation with these skills. And if you need any help with that, there's also this YouTube series, well, not series, there's this TED Talk called the 110 public speaking skills or something like that. And if you use those, you can actually become really good at presenting in general, but definitely good enough to get 10s here. I had this one really mean judge, and they gave me some awful scoring up here, but they still ended up giving me good points here because of how well I did things. They couldn't really deny that I rose above the rest, which was cool. Now, there is something new in the rubric that I didn't address earlier, and it's this thing right here: competitors did not follow guidelines. So this year, it has some obvious stuff, like obviously don't bring in food or live animals. You have to present without external speakers for the preliminary. No links or QR codes, no leaving the materials behind. That makes sense, right? And then maintaining professional boundaries during setup time. You don't really get to talk with them if you're setting up. You have to set up and then shake hands with the judges. I am very glad to see that this is a thing now. This blocks off people that didn't actually make a game which would be compatible with the the event. If you show up unprepared this year, I believe you should get docked all the way down to here. If you get 10 points here, that's great. Then you will obviously get an extra 10 points. But if you don't, if you get one of these things wrong, it looks like you are going to be in trouble. And I am glad to see that because there were some fools that would not have made it to the finals if this was a thing last year because they had games or presentations that had very little to do with the actual topic, and now that's not a thing you can do. Very good to see, but unless you are one of those people that do not actually follow the topic, this won't really apply to you, I imagine. Also, this is a new thing: used only allowable technology. You are allowed to have 3 devices now, which is a change. I'm not exactly sure how that works, so I'm not going to speak too much on it. And that's just about it. I'm sure that you might have more questions for me. I should have a link to this in the description, so you can just check that out whenever you'd like. You can use this for a template and make slides that are like this if you'd like, or don't. Completely ignore me if you'd like. Hey, who knows? I might be trying to mess you up. You never know. Maybe I'm sabotaging you. Okay, I'm not, but anyway, I hope that this helped you guys out. And yeah, comment if you need any extra help. See ya.